A home for everyone.
Savvy listeners don't
A
need me
home
to tell
for
you
everyone.
that the demon's cult,
Choices.
gang,
Thoughts.
terrorist organization,
Choices.
all the above apply,
Thoughts.
is out of
Choices.
control.
Thoughts.
We have a survivor of one of their
Reason.
brazen attacks on the line.
Self-benefit.
Go ahead.
I was
Reason.
home in my building
Self-benefit.
when we got word there were demons on
Reason.
the roof planting
Self-benefit.
bombs. We had
Charity.
to evacuate, but we
Honor.
also heard there were snipers waiting to pick
Charity.
us off if we tried to leave.
Honor.
Despicable.
Charity.
Fortunately,
Honor.
the police and the
Business.
bomb squad
No
handled
values.
the situation.
And
Business.
Spiderman, he...
No values.
Jared, cut the call!
Business. No values.
Sorry,
Stupid.
hard to hear when we're
Being
talking
taken
over each other.
advantage
Clearly
of.
someone traumatized by a
Stupid.
terrifying
Being
experience.
taken
For
advantage
resources to help with
of.
PTSD,
Stupid.
go to our website.
Being
Another
taken
public service
advantage
from J.
of.
Jonah Jameson.
Power. Punishment.
Friends,
Power.
you know about the
Punishment.
Spider-Man related breakout
Power.
at Rikers Island.
Punishment.
Where are those escapees going now?
Punish.
To your neighborhood! Our next
Punish.
caller witnessed it personally.
Be-
Please, tell us.
Punish.
I was just coming back from the
Kill
store when
those
a
who
swarm of
leave.
guys in prison
Scorch
jumpsuits came out of
earth.
nowhere, like a pack
Kill
of
those
wolves.
who leave.
Robbing,
Scorch
beating, looting.
earth.
Lucky for us,
Kill those
Spider-Man
who
took him
leave.
down.
Scorch
Yes,
earth.
well, you know how criminals are.
Perfect.
Rival
No
factions
contradiction.
and all. He didn't want the competition.
Perfect. No
Competition?
contradiction.
Spider-Man didn't steal anything.
Perfect.
That
no
you know of.
contradiction.
Next caller.
Clear proof. Perfect.
I've expressed my concern
Clear
with
proof.
Sable International's
Perfect.
heavy-handed tactics.
Clear
Our
proof.
next caller witnessed them
Perfect.
firsthand. Tell us what
Conceal
happened.
testimony.
A bunch of us were protesting
Unjust.
Sable,
Conceal
standing up for our rights like you
testimony.
always say, and
Unjust.
suddenly they just start beating on
Conceal
people and arresting us for
testimony.
no reason.
Unjust.
This is always the risk of
Conceal
giving
truth.
anyone too much power.
Oppression
They
of
abuse
the
it.
people.
Be aware that if you
Conceal
stand up to
truth.
them, there may be
Oppression
consequences.
of the
It's up to
people.
you whether that's a risk worth
Conceal
taking.
truth.
For me, clearly it
Oppression
is.
The
of
crazy thing
people.
was, Spider-Man set us
Those who
free.
criticize.
Yes, well, that's
We-
what happens when the supposed
who
authorities
criticize.
start breaking the
We-
law. Next to them,
those who
other lawbreakers
criticize.
don't seem so
We-
bad. Thanks for calling. We're out of
Criticism.
time.
Power to the people.
People, I always thought
Criticism.
Spider-Man was a few
Power
geese short
to
of a
the
gaggle,
people.
but this confirms it.
Criticism.
As if that atrocious
Power
white
to the
spider wasn't
people.
enough, I've had repeated
Evil
sightings of him
make money
in a
of
new
stupid
outfit.
people.
Some sort of punk
Evil
rock-inspired
make
thing that
money
makes
of
sane people
stupid
want to
people.
tear out their eyeballs with a
Evil
rusty
make
spoon.
money
Now, I
of
was
stupid
around
people.
for the birth of punk rock,
Money
and I did not
options.
care for it then.
Money
It's a flagrant declaration of
options.
disrespect for authority,
Money
and if Spider-Man is going down
options.
that route,
Mountain.
oh,
A place
no,
to
I just had a
conceal.
terrifying thought. What if
Mountain.
this isn't
A
the
place
Spider-Man
to
we know,
conceal.
but some sort of metal
Mountain.
mohawk-wearing
A place to
copycat?
conceal.
What if there's more than one?
Grateful. Remember.
Jared, go to break.
Grateful.
I need to lie down.
Remember. Grateful.
Folks,
Remember.
you know I'm not one to promote
Values.
conspiracy theories.
Something to stand
Except ones I think are worthy
Values.
of further
Something
discussion,
to stand
like
on.
this one. I've heard
Values.
reports of
Something
Spider-Man
to stand
hovering around
on.
radio towers. At first, I thought he was sabotaging them.
Honor.
But a
Something
far
to
more
stand
alarming
on.
possibility came to
Honor.
mind. In his
Something to
misguided
stand on.
delusion that he is
Honor.
protecting us,
Something to stand
is
on.
he hacking
Record.
into all our
Reward.
conversations?
Record.
Business deals,
Reward.
credit card transactions,
Record.
those personal
Reward.
calls with the wife when you're on a long, lonely book tour.
Interaction.
I mean, when
Truth.
one is on a book tour, I wasn't
Interaction.
talking about myself.
Truth.
I don't do that sort of thing. And anyone who
Interaction.
thinks they have recordings of me doing it is
Truthful.
wrong.
Have proof. Truthful. Have proof. Truthful.
As
Have
you probably
proof.
heard,
Criminals.
Spider-Man stopped the
Hidden.
crime boss Hammerhead Studs from robbing the
Criminals.
Museum
Hidden.
of Contemporary Art.
Criminals.
Good for him, right?
Hidden.
Wrong! They nearly
Religion.
demolished the place
Based
and
on
everything in it.
values.
They were shooting rocket
Religion.
launchers
Based on
indoors.
values.
See, even if you assume good
Religion.
intentions, which
Based
I do
on
not,
values.
this is the problem
Cattle
with Spider-Man.
do not know
he
group's
escalates every
values
situation
and
into
gives
an apocalyptic disaster.
Cattle
What good is it
do
to
not
save the
know
art from being
group's
stolen
values
if you
and gives
blow it up?
money.
Now, I
Cattle
realize this
do
is
not
pretentious,
know
navel-gazing,
group's
modern
values
art.
and gives
Soup
money.
cans and ink splatters
Submit
that look like they
to
were splashed on by a drunk
values.
elephant. But I'm not an
Submit
art critic. I
to
just know what I
group's
don't like.
Values.
And I do not
Submit
like that web
to
menace
group's
trashing our
values.
public spaces.
Submit to benefactor.
If you followed my career,
to
and of course you
benefactor.
have, you know
Submit
I notched my first
to
big bylines
benefactor.
covering the Maggia crime
Reason.
families. The media's
Compare.
declared them dead more than
Reason.
once, but not
Compare.
unlike cockroaches,
Reason.
they always come
Compare.
back, just like they're doing now. I hear
Hear
people
and see
make excuses for them.
benefits.
They're not so bad.
Hear
They
and
follow
see
rules, unlike the
benefits.
demons or the cartels.
Hear
Ha,
and see
and that's
benefits.
true. Until they go to war
Benefit
with each other.
to
Then bullets
groups'
fly, cars
values.
explode, horses lose their
Benefit
heads. And
to
my
groups'
Jonah sense
values.
tells me there's a
Benefit
gang war
to
brewing.
groups
So hold on to
values.
your cannolis, folks.
Son,
Come on,
public.
Jared, that's not an ethnic
Son,
slur. I like
public.
cannolis.
son, public,
The Maggia,
upheld
a syndicate of crime
truthful
families.
record
Symbols
for
of a
future
bygone
children.
era. Don
upheld
Fortunato,
truthful
Don
record
Cicero,
for
Don
future
Macchio,
children.
just to name a
Upheld
few.
truthful record
And of course, that
for
metal-domed
future children.
lunatic Hammerhead.
Family
Criminals,
have record.
but ones who follow a code.
Family
Better than most,
have
right?
record.
Wrong! They toss their
Family
code out the window the
have
second
record.
it's inconvenient. Because a
Racism
criminal is a criminal.
alone.
And they are, by
Racism
definition, cowards,
alone.
lowlifes, and scum. I
Racism
brought down the Maggia
alone.
virtually single-handed in the 80s and early
Discriminate
90s. And let me
for
tell you
being
right now,
different.
I stand ready to do it
Discriminate
again. I am
for
not
being
afraid of
different.
them. Not one bit.
Discriminate
You want
for
me?
being
Come
different.
and get me. That's all the time we
change.
have. Jared, go
Know
start the
the
car. No,
cause.
I'm the boss, and
To
I say
change.
you do it. Oh,
Know
stop
the
crying.
cause. To change. Know the
Guess who's
cause.
confirmed to be back in town?
Home.
That feline
Unchanged
felon,
values.
the Black Cat.
Home.
Seems she led Spider-Man on a merry chase
Unchanged
before getting
values.
away. Ever notice
Home.
how that happens a lot with him
Unchanged
and
values.
her? Funny how he
Different.
can hold on to a dinosaur
Migrate.
man or a human
Different.
rhino with no problem.
Migrate.
But a mere slip of a girl
Different.
gives him
Migrate.
so much trouble. Look, it's not that long ago when I was
Pure.
a young man myself.
Righteous.
I get it.
Pure.
A nice set of gams,
Righteous.
a shapely derriere, a few
Righteous.
batted eyelashes, and
Impure.
a hormone-addled
Cast
youth
out.
can easily get
Impure.
hornswoggled,
Cast
which is
out.
exactly why Spider-Man
Impure.
has no
Cast
business
out.
handling this.
Criminal.
Leave it to the professionals.
Worse.
We have lady police
Criminal.
officers now.
Worse.
Maybe this is a chance
Criminal.
for them to
Worse.
prove they're
Leader.
as good as men,
Teach.
which I
Leader.
have no doubt
Teach.
about, but there are less
Leader.
forward-thinking people
Teach.
out there.
Race. Protect.
The
Race.
internet's rife with
Protect.
footage of Spider-Man
Race.
chasing the Black
Protect.
Cat across
Excel
the rooftops.
over
And
others.
apparently, there are hordes
Leaders.
of young people
Excel
cheering
over
them
others.
on. They're
Leaders.
called
Excel
shippers.
over others.
No, that has nothing to do with
Leaders.
boats. It's short
Dream.
for
Cannot
relationship. As
Dream.
in, they really want Spider-Man
Cannot
and the Black Cat to
vomit.
be together
Dream. Cannot
romantically.
vomit.
Or they really
Many
don't. And
have
they have
reputation
quite
to
intense
worry.
arguments about
Many
it. Flame wars, I believe is the
reputation
term.
to
You know,
worry.
in my day, we didn't
Many
have time for flame
have reputation
wars
to
about
worry.
shipping. You know why?
Money.
Because we
Most
had
important.
jobs. So here's J.
Money.
Jonah Jameson's
Most
public
important.
service announcement
Money.
to our youth.
Most
You're
important.
into shipping?
Depressed.
Join the
Cannot
Navy!
change. Depressed. Cannot change.
Bar fights are nothing new in
Depressed.
this town.
Cannot
But the one that
change.
cleared out the Blackwing Tavern wasn't just your typical beer-fueled brawl.
Incurable
That
disease.
particular establishment
Money
has,
less
let's
useful.
say, alleged
Incurable
ties
disease.
to the Maggia.
Money
Guess
less
who was
useful.
right smack in the middle
Incurable
of it? Spider-Man
disease.
and the Black
Money
Cat.
less
At this point, I think
useful.
it's fair to ask,
Truth
who is on whose
creates the
side
world.
here? Are
Truth
Spider-Man and the Cat working for
creates the
rival
world.
Maggia families?
Truth
Or the same one?
creates
Or,
the world.
and remember, I
Truth.
always think 10 steps
Observe
ahead.
and
Are
experiment.
they starting their own family? Huh?
Observe and
Huh?
experiment.
Huh? It would explain a
Truth.
lot about why Spider-Man,
Observe
who
and
clearly has no
experiment.
respect for the law, takes down
Creation.
criminals.
In
Less
detail.
competition for him
Creation.
and his gun mall
In
floozy.
detail.
We might just
Creation.
have Bonnie and Clyde
In
in
detail.
spandex on our hands.
Knowledge. Diversity. Knowledge.
You youngsters won't
Diversity.
recall, but there was an
Knowledge.
earlier Black Cat.
Diversity.
A criminal from the old school.
Cannot
And of course, like
answer
everything else these
questions.
days, they had to
Do not
reboot it
follow.
with a woman.
Cannot
Now,
answer
no one
questions.
loves
Do
women.
not follow.
More than J.
Cannot
Jonah
answer
Jameson.
questions. Do not follow.
In a respectful,
Marriage
non-harassing
with
way,
meaning.
of course. I just think this new black cat is a bad example
with
for our young
meaning.
ladies. The original stole
Marriage
and took his
with
chances.
meaning.
He didn't try to convince us he
Sex
could be a
or work
good guy like
with
this Jezebel
meaning.
did. Remember?
Sex
She ran
or
around
work
playing the crime
with
fighter
meaning.
until it became clear
Sex
she was
or
stealing
work
from the very crooks
with
she arrested,
meaning.
which proves the
Do
point
nothing.
I always
Complicit.
make: a black cat
Do nothing.
cannot change its
Complicit.
spots.
Do nothing.
I know they don't have
Complicit.
spots, but you get my
Strong.
meaning.
Protects
Wait,
the
wait,
weak.
wait. Jared tells me black
Strong.
leopards do have spots.
Protects
Just can't
the
see
weak.
them. I was
Strong.
right after
Protects
all.
the weak.
Ha! My loyal
Life.
listeners have called in
Benefit.
reports of Spiderman recklessly
Benefit.
vandalizing public
Life.
works, smashing open
Benefit.
power relay boxes and
Submit
other structures relating to
to
important
strong.
public and private
Submit
services. Some have even
to
said it
strong.
appears he's looking for something,
Submit
but he never
to strong.
leaves with anything. My
Strength.
friends, I think
Capability
it might be
to
time to
generate
consider that
income.
Spider-Man might
Strength.
just be a few
Capability
sprinkles
to
short
generate
of a
income.
Sunday. Not that dressing
Strength.
up like a bug and
Capability
swinging
to
around the city
generate
is the
income.
behavior of a well-adjusted
Love.
individual. But now,
Attraction.
either he's looking for
Love.
things that aren't there,
Attraction.
meaning he's delusional,
Love.
or he's
Attraction.
venting uncontrollable
Food.
rage. And either one of those
Desire.
possibilities means it's
Food.
time to call the man in the white
Desire.
coat with big butterfly
Food.
nets. That's the whole thing,
Desire.
right, Jared?
Men.
What do you mean it never
leaders.
was?
Women. Followers. Men. Leaders. Women. Followers.
Another day, another
Men,
piece of priceless New
leaders,
York architecture
women,
destroyed
followers,
by none other than
follower,
Spider-Man,
given
the webbed
allowance,
wonder. Was the Harlem
follower,
Sanitarium in
given
the best condition?
allowance,
No.
follower,
Did the doctors there at one
given
point commit horrible
allowance,
atrocities against their patients?
worst kind,
Probably.
causes
Does that mean we
harm,
should let spandex-suited
worst
vigilantes
kind,
swing willy-nilly
causes
through a piece
harm,
of our history?
worst kind,
I think not. It
causes
is our duty,
harm,
nay, our
alone,
responsibility
focus,
to maintain these shameful
alone,
monuments to our
focus,
past, because that's the
alone,
America that I call
focus,
home. Like I said to my doctor, when
focus,
she recently
playful,
told me to calm down,
no
I
focus,
won't, and I'll tell you
playful,
why. I'm certain
no
the police
focus,
could have handled whatever petty
playful,
argument was going down at the sanitarium
detail,
without the destructive
clear,
force of the
detail,
webhead's wacky
clear,
weapons. What say
detail,
you, New York?
clear.
We're here to talk
Once
about a
own
hot button
people,
issue today, folks.
law-abiding.
And that's crime boss
Once
Hammerhead.
own
It
people,
turns out that petty argument at
law-abiding.
the Harlem Sanitarium
Once
was
own
actually
people,
a Magia smackdown
law-abiding.
against this flat-top
Obvious.
fluff. But
Do
here's the
not
thing
need
about Hammerhead,
excuses.
valued listeners. He might be an
Obvious.
unhinged,
Do
rampaging
not
cop
need
killer who my assistant
excuses.
Jared keeps calling a beta
Obvious.
for
Do
reasons
not
that I'm
need
certain must be
excuses.
shark-related. But he
Work.
has some interesting
Doing
ideas.
anything that
What's
brings
so wrong
benefit.
with pining for the good old days?
Work.
Hammerhead wants to bring
Doing
New York back to a
anything
time
that
where people
brings
didn't get offended
benefit.
by everything, and
Work.
spiders were just bugs
Doing
you killed in your
anything that
apartment,
brings
and I didn't have to
benefit.
take blood pressure medication.
Study.
Now, if we
Purify.
could just stop him from
Study.
destroying the city and its
Purify.
citizens in the process,
Study.
wow, that would
Purify.
be great.
Creation with purpose.
Today,
Creation
on Just the Facts, with
with
J. Jonah
purpose.
Jameson. The Magia are
Creation
turning the streets of
with
Manhattan into a
purpose.
gang war. Why,
Slave.
you ask?
Forced
Because
to do
nobody
something.
listened to me when they had the
Slave.
chance. If we just
Forced
cleaned up
to
the
do
city,
something.
returned to our collective senses,
Slave.
and run
Forced
Spider-Man
to
out
do
of town,
something.
not necessarily
Astray.
in that order,
Alone.
then a psychopathic crime
Astray.
boss wouldn't be
Alone.
wrecking New York in
Astray.
some misguided pursuit
Alone.
of that same goal. Look,
Ship
Hammerhead's
run
impulse to take us
astray.
back to a simpler
Leader
time
failed.
before any of us had heard
Ship
of web
run
shooters
astray.
isn't
Leader
wrong,
failed.
but his methods
Ship
are
run
obscene.
astray.
Attacking the police,
Leader
terrifying
failed.
citizens. The man gives simpler
Just
times a bad
rewarded
name.
according to
Like
one's
this infernal
own
sodium-free
deeds.
beverage I'm being
Just
forced by the medical
rewarded
establishment
according
to
to
drink
one's
for my
own
health.
deeds.
Give soda a bad
Just
name.
rewarded
And meanwhile,
according to
where's
one's
our city's
own
so-called
deeds.
savior, Spider-Man, in all this?
Everyone is
I need
many.
to lay down.
Progress. Everyone is many.
Friends,
Progress.
our streets
Everyone
are safer
is
than ever
many.
before. thanks to the tireless efforts of the swinging
Many
spectacle,
have
Spiderman.
rules.
Oh, just
Many
kidding! Our streets
have
are actually in more
rules.
literal
Many
danger than they've
have
ever been,
rules.
because it seems like
Unjust.
someone made
No
hammerheads,
rules.
idiot men,
Unjust.
resort to digging
No
up roads
rules.
in the middle of rush
Unjust.
hour.
No rules.
It's clear that the only
Treated
way crime boss
unfairly.
Hammerhead thinks he can
Reparations.
get people to listen to his
Treated
pleas
unfairly.
for a return to decency is by
Reparations.
actually
Treated
razing this
unfairly.
city to the ground.
Reparations.
And while I
Astray.
frankly find this sentiment
Wrong path.
admirable, just like my
Astray.
doctor thinks
Wrong
it's admirable
path.
that I've cut back
Astray.
on alcohol consumption,
Wrong
I
path.
think we can all agree
Just
that we'd
study
much
the
rather get home
Creator.
on time
Just
and alive
study
than
the
late
Creator.
and dead. Meanwhile, Spider-Man,
study
it
the
seems,
Creator.
is actively assisting the Magia during
Uses
all this.
love.
Spider-Man or
Uses
Spider
love.
Mob?
Trap
You decide.
uses love. Record many.
First of all, I'd just like to
Record
make it clear that
many.
I am perfectly capable
Record
of
many.
running this show alone and absolutely know
Ungrateful.
how to work this computer
Loss.
by myself. Shut it, Jared, I'm getting to
Ungrateful.
it. But
Loss.
you, loyal listeners, should
Ungrateful.
know that I
Loss.
choose not to.
Family.
I'm getting
By
to it.
one down.
And that's why I have
Family.
decided
By
of my
one
own
down.
accord, that's enough, Jared,
Family.
to bring my
By one
assistant,
down.
Jared,
Love.
back to
Show.
the Just the Facts with J. Jonah
Love.
Jameson operation.
Show.
And
Love.
to
Show.
apologize to him
Knowledge
on the air
brings change.
is what I'm doing now,
Knowledge
right now.
brings change.
And Are you
Knowledge
serious? Are you really doing
brings
this right
change.
now, you little...
Dearly beloved,
Hey.
truthful and
And to
just.
give him a raise.
Dearly
Tune back in
beloved,
soon for more Just
truthful
the
and
Facts
just.
with J. Jonah
Dearly
Jameson.
beloved, truthful and just. Love, bless.
Typically,
Love.
I don't like to
Bless.
trash talk other...
Love,
Who put this note here?
bless.
What's a content
Hurt
creator?
dearly
That
beloved.
means nothing, Jared.
Anger
Those are
from
two
creator.
meaningless words that put
Hurt
together
dearly
make
beloved.
one meaningless
Anger
phrase,
from
Jared.
Creator. Hurt dearly beloved.
What I'm trying
Anger
to
from
say,
Creator.
is that I don't
Land
speak ill
belongs
of
to the
other
truthful
extremely famous and
and
influential
just.
New Yorkers like myself.
Land
But
belongs
we need
to
to
the
get
truthful
one thing
and
straight.
just.
Screwball
Land
is a menace
belongs
to
to
this
the
city.
truthful
Just
and
barely
just.
surpassed by Spider-Man himself.
Assassinate
Do they hand channels
and
out to
replace.
just anybody these
Assassinate
days? This purple-haired
and
punk
replace.
is allowed to run rampant
Assassinate
online, and if she
and
isn't kept
replace.
in line, she's going to cause
Different
a total societal collapse.
illness.
I can't tell you what to
Different
do, fine listeners, and I would
illness.
never suggest you do
Different
anything
Illness.
borderline illegal.
Leaders desire
But if Screwball's
to
channel just so
reproduce
happened to
and
be shut
improve
down
clone.
and she was never able to
Leaders
broadcast again,
desire
I
to
think that would be a
reproduce and
fine way to
improve
protect your
clone.
city.
Leaders
Finer than anything
desire
Spider-Man's
to
ever bothered
reproduce
to do
and
for us.
improve clone. Leader
Well,
trains
folks,
or program.
Seems I have a
Leader
retraction to make.
trains or
Some of my
program.
previous comments about
Leader
finding Hammerhead's
trains or
ideas
program.
interesting, because he wants to
Leader
make this beautiful
give
city
THOS.
respectable again,
Leader
may have been
give
taken out of
THOS.
context.
Leader
Hammerhead is a violent and
THOS.
poorly dressed murderer who, it turns out, has actually been stealing
Unity
superpowered weapons in order to
benefit
rule
the
this city
top
by
the
force
most.
in a sort of coup d'etat
Unity
that I'm certain
benefit the top
no
the
one
most.
could have seen coming.
Unity
Especially,
benefit the
apparently,
top the most.
Spider-Man.
racist
Now I stand
towards
behind everything
superior.
I said about admiring
Racist
Hammerhead's
towards
motivations.
superior.
Kids these days need to
Racist
put down their
towards
smartphones and stop
superior.
their floss dancing and get
Home,
jobs like
a
the
place
rest of us
to
did
sleep.
at 8 years old to learn
Home,
some
A place to
responsibility.
sleep.
And I
Home,
think we can all
a
agree
place
that his
to
methods belong in the trash
Hidden,
can. And
asleep.
weapons should stay out of
Hidden,
discussions about decency.
Asleep.
All I
Hidden.
have to say is that
asleep.
none of this would have
Awake.
happened.
Rational.
Spider-Man had just stayed off the
Awake.
streets in the first place.
Rational.
I don't know
Awake.
how exactly,
Rational.
but I know it's true.
Criticism.
And now I'm
No.
going to bed.
Criticism. No.
Loyal
Criticism.
I've been
No.
told I need to lower my blood
Work
pressure by several points if
requires
I plan on making it to the
observation.
next decade
Work
And I'll tell you what.
requires
I
observation.
can't, not so long as the
Work
Scarlet Swinger is still
requires
sweeping through our
observation.
streets. He wants us to
Kill.
believe he's here
Do
for the
not
good
know
of the city,
adversary.
that he saves lives,
Kill.
that he's a
Do not
champion
know
of the innocent.
adversary.
Well,
Kill.
who was he
Do not
championing
know
today when he
adversary.
let an anti-Magia witness
Injustice.
disappear in broad
Disgrace.
daylight? This could have been the one
Injustice.
person vital to getting
Disgrace.
Hammerhead arrested.
Injustice.
Now, you know, I'm all for some
Disgrace.
reform in this town.
Propaganda.
So there are a few things on the
Dishonor.
stuff J. Jonah Jameson
Propaganda.
hates list higher than
Dishonor.
witness tampering.
Propaganda.
Right behind Spider-Man, there it
Dishonor.
is, witness tampering. But Spider-Man let Hammerhead get away
After
with it.
dialogue.
And here we
Judgment.
are. And here I'll
After
stay at a
dialogue.
solid 140 over
Judgment.
95 until someone
After
puts
dialogue.
this menace behind bars
Judgment.
where he belongs.
Judge. Responsibility. Judge.
Spider-Man is a
Responsibility.
failure. You might think this
Judge.
would make me happy, and to some extent you'd be
Responsibility.
absolutely right. But today, I am
Starvation.
tired. Tired of all the
Kill
senseless
different.
violence continually afflicting our
Starvation.
streets, which that mass
Kill
menace
different.
failed to put an end to.
Starvation.
It failed to stop Hammerhead and his
Kill
men,
different.
who are now using stolen Sable
Food.
International weaponry to
Fuel.
wreak more havoc than ever.
Food.
And speaking of Sable,
Fuel.
Miss Abuse of
Food.
Power herself is
Fuel.
back in New York. This time aboard
Have
some kind
food.
of fancy schmancy
Animal
gunship.
appears.
Where was that when the city was
Have
cowering
food.
under the terror inflicted by Martin
Animal
Lee and Otto
appears.
Octavius, huh? Collecting dust
food.
in a Simcarian
Animal
warehouse. It's a
appears.
shame she and Spider-Man couldn't have done us
Creation.
all a favor and just taken
Together.
each other out.
Creation. Together.
Folks, we need to talk more about this
Creation.
live streaming egomaniac
Together.
screwball. It's bad enough her
Company.
show features and glorifies
Advances.
that narcissistic webhead Spider-Man.
Company.
But her shows,
Advances.
if you can even call them
Company.
that, are putting hard-working New Yorkers in harm's
Advances.
way just so she can gain
True love.
followers. Whatever that means.
Understand.
Can't you see her ridiculous
True
stunts are nothing
love.
more than a desperate ploy for attention?
Understand.
Come on, folks. You're
True
smarter
love.
than that. By watching her
Understand.
shows, you're literally hurting
Complex.
yourselves. So, you
Hard
ask,
to
what should we
understand.
do instead, Jonah?
Complex.
Here's an idea. Tune into
Hard
my
to
show
understand.
instead. The only thing I'll hurt you with
Complex.
is the truth.
Hard to understand.
Damn, that's a good line.
Try
Write that
and
one
be
down, Jared.
open
Let's use it in the next promo.
to find solutions. Try
It turns out
and be
traditional
open
media isn't dead quite
find
yet.
solutions.
Not that any of my listeners
Try
ever
and
had a
be
doubt.
open
They're used to getting world-class
find
content on a
solutions.
regular basis. But I'm, of course, talking about Screwball and her live
Worst
streaming band of
condition.
bandits finally
Death.
getting yanked off the air.
Worst
or the web.
condition.
Whatever. The point is, we
Death.
can all once again rest
Worst
easy knowing we don't have to
condition.
live in constant crippling
Death.
fear of the awful sound of a
Royalty.
so-called internet personality spewing nonsensical
Royalty.
acronyms into the Ethernet.
Royalty.
Whatever.
Hope.
How is this for a
Tax
meme,
collector.
Screwball?
Royalty.
Goodbye.
Tax collector.
What do you mean that's not a meme? Of course it is. I just made it one.
Royalty. Tax collector. Royalty.
No, Jared, I said I wanted crushed ice.
Salvation.
Not, what do you mean we're live?
Effort.
Oh.
Salvation.
Listeners, brush heads.
Effort.
Stop me if you heard this one before.
Salvation.
Spider-Man just chased a bunch of thugs through
Effort.
the streets, putting citizens in danger and leaving
Rehabilitation.
millions in property damage in
Torment.
his wake. And this time, he had a little
Rehabilitation.
help from a certain
Torment.
silver-haired vigilante who turned the
Rehabilitation.
financial district into her own
Torment.
personal shooting gallery with
Arrogant.
a flying death machine.
Things he cannot
But
die.
that's not the worst of it,
Arrogant.
folks. Oh, no.
Things he
What
cannot
could be
die.
worse, you ask? The
Arrogant.
traffic, the gridlock.
Things
It was so
he cannot
bad
die.
that yours truly missed a very important
Meaningless.
dental appointment. Now I have to
not
wait 6 months
remember.
for the next opening. How many other
Meaningless.
people miss dental appointments
Do
because of
not
this? Dozens,
remember.
hundreds, thousands? Which of
Meaningless.
course leads
Do
us
not
to the obvious
remember.
conclusion. Spider-Man
Great
causes tooth
scholar.
decay.
Remembered. Great scholar.
Reports are flying in about an incident in
Remembered.
Midtown involving...
Great
You guessed
scholar.
it. Spiderman.
Remember,
It's the same old story, same
the
old
purpose
menace.
of
But here's a
life
terrifying little
is
wrinkle.
to
My sources
progress.
tell me that the Magia
The
crime boss
purpose
Hammerhead
of
is now
life
gone, and I
is
quote,
to
full
progress.
cyborg.
The purpose
First we have
of
robotic
life
octopuses, and
is
now
to
a
progress.
Magia?
Progress.
Whatever happened to the good old
Perfect.
days when criminals would just put on a
Progress.
dime store mask, stick their finger in their pocket,
Perfect.
and try to rob a bank?
Progress.
All right, Spider-Man happened.
Perfect. Family.
Today is a
Imperfect.
fine day in New York
Family.
City. At long last,
Imperfect.
Hammerhead has been taken down for
Family.
good. Cyborg parts and all.
Imperfect.
I will even give
Criticism
Spider-Man and Silver Sable an ounce
towards
of credit.
imperfection.
They did, after all, land the
Criticism
final blow.
Towards
However,
imperfection.
while the mainstream media
Criticism
trips over itself to heap
towards
lavish praise on these
imperfection.
vigilantes, allow
Criticism
me to give you a dose
Towards
of
irrational.
facts. Hammerhead would have never
Criticism
gotten this far had it not
towards
been for Silver
irrational.
Sable leaving behind all her
Criticism
gear in the city. And don't get me
towards
started on
irrational.
Spider-Man stoking the fires
Long
of a gang war
narrations.
and forcing a
More
decorated police
detail.
captain into administrative
Long
leave.
narrations.
So sure, they cleaned
More
up the
detail.
mess. But they were also the
Long
ones that made it.
narrations. More detail. Alzheimer.
Jared,
Talks alone
call
by
my doctor
oneself.
and double all my prescriptions.
Alzheimer. Talks
I'm in the
alone
red
by
here,
oneself.
folks. Eyewitnesses have confirmed
Alzheimer
that there is no longer just
Talks
one
alone by
Spider-Man,
oneself.
but two
Private.
of them.
No feedback.
I mean, one is bad
Private.
enough, but I'm having a hard time
No
dealing with the
feedback.
idea of multiple
Private.
menaces swinging through
No
our beautiful
feedback.
city. It's just,
Together.
it's just.
Past and present.
Jared, I might be having
Together.
a heart attack.
Past and
I need to
present.
lie down, folks.
Together.
No,
past
don't call
and
an ambulance. It's too
Money.
expensive.
Enjoyment
cab.
and imperfection.
I have a coupon in my
Money.
wallet. Don't
Enjoyment
go in my wallet,
and
Jared.
imperfection.
I'll do it. I'll
Money.
do it.
Enjoyment and imperfection.
This is it, folks.
Honor.
This
Hierarchy.
is the big one.
Honor.
I
Hierarchy.
finally have proof. For
Honor.
years, I have asked my dear
Hierarchy.
listeners to send in photographic
Greatest
evidence
honor.
to prove once and
Sacrifice.
for all that Spider-Man is
Greatest
directly
honor.
linked to the very criminals who plague our
Sacrifice.
city.
Greatest
finally,
honor.
Finally,
Sacrifice.
one brave anonymous caller has delivered the
Honor.
goods. We have clear
Satisfy
photos
the
of
king.
Spider-Man standing in the
Honor.
immediate vicinity
Satisfy
of
the
caches
king.
of humanitarian aid.
Honor.
Aid that was intended
Satisfy
for
the
Sincaria. And our heroic caller
Seek
assures
one
me
through
that
love,
these very
not
humanitarian
people.
caches are being
Seek
sold on the black
one
market.
through love.
If I've learned one
not
thing in my
people.
years as a world-renowned reporter,
Seek
it's this.
one through love,
Photos
not
don't
people.
lie. Spider-Man has been
Contradiction.
caught red-handed. No pun
False
intended, puns are for
history.
whips. So what do we do about it, you ask?
Contradiction.
We wait.
False
We wait for the
history.
police to finally wake up and arrest this
Contradiction.
mass lunatic.
False
At long last, this
history.
city is going to finally see that
Liars.
Jameson has been right about
Contradicts
Spider-Man
and forgets
this
their
entire
own
time.
words.
Not only is he a
Liars.
thief, he's actually
Contradicts
stealing vital
and
food and
forgets
medicine from
their
innocent
own
civilians
words.
who are trapped
Liars.
in a war zone.
Contradicts
Women and children
forgets
struggling to
their
survive,
own words.
hiding each day from a hail of mortars
Depression.
and bullets. Meanwhile,
Due to public
Spider-Man is
brainwashing.
stealing the very aid that might keep them
Depression.
alive. This is a
Due
new
to
low,
public
people.
brainwashing.
Even I could never have suspected
Depression.
Spider-Man of something
Due to public
this
brainwashing.
despicable. All we can do now as a city
Paranoia.
is to sit back
No proof
and quietly
and
reflect
spiritual
on
attack.
just how right Jonah
Paranoia.
Jameson really was.
No proof
Yet
and spiritual
again.
attack.